It is a great day and a great hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is MajorGrokey. This is a video game review where I'll be looking at Rise of Legions from Broken Games. It's a game that entered early access in late February 2019 and it feels surprisingly polished. However, full disclosure, I received a key for the game to review and thought it would be a good game to make my first review video on, so let's get into it. Rise of Legions from Broken Games is a card-based RTS with a MOBA foundation. Think of the mobile exclusive Clash Royale, but with a longer lane and better defined card synergies in the vein of Magic the Gathering's mana colors like black, green, white, etc. There is a limitation of only 2 classes in a deck, but that still makes for some interesting combinations. Something that seems to be begging to be mentioned is that this is from a 3-man dev shop in Berlin, Germany. To have a game this polished in early access with a 3-man team is an impressive feat, so let's look at the game itself. I've had a few hours to explore how far I can get with a little green Zerg deck, and as it so happens, it's hooked me in pretty solid. There are progress alerts on the main screen that offer rewards for things like changing your profile avatar, renaming your deck, or adding a friend in-game. Although friends on Steam, it's a little wonky. You still have a bunch of randos adding you, and it's just super spammy, so I tend to avoid doing that, but it's, if you want to, go for it. You know, mileage may vary. When you first start, you're thrown headfirst into a tutorial that feels a little clunky. I like the idea of getting into a game as soon as possible, but you're being forced to play your first match without really looking at the decks and knowing what you're doing. In the tutorial, you have to wait a full 10 seconds, and so there's a good 8 seconds there where you're just like, what am I doing here? What's happening now? You're not actually given soul coin credits for playing the cards as you would in an actual match, so that's kind of misleading, but you can work your way to the deck editor after the match, and I think you can even skip the tutorial to see the cards, but that experience isn't as fluid as it could be, but you will get there. Just kind of click around a bit. Now, there are many different types of cards with some pretty great synergies, but each card has 2 different types. You've got the regular card, the summoner card, and the spawner. That's indicated by the card background. The regular cards have circle icons. They're placed automatically when you select them in your toolbar on the left. And the spawner cards have a tapered flat edge, and they're going to be spawned on the right whenever you select them to be included in your deck. Now, there are differences that might work better for you, but that's what sticks out for me. In game, there are 3 different game phases. The game starts in the first phase when you play a spawner card that spawns and races to the center to claim the center tower. Sometimes you'll get there before the opposing team, and sometimes they get there before you do. It feels like it might be related to your connection and how fast you load in. But phase 2, you get a higher gold limit, and the towers get a bit beefier. In phase 3, your gold limit goes up again, and later in phase 3, the towers start attacking the other player's nexus if it's not defending itself from attacking units, and this actually helps with the time limit of the match itself. Now, initially you start with a gold limit of 600, that increases by 300 each phase. That means you start with 600 phase 1, 900 phase 2, and 1200 gold pieces or gold coins in phase 3. There are 2 types of coins. You have gold coins and the soul coins. Generally speaking, you spend the gold coins on anything but the spawners, and the soul coins are only spent on the spawners. And spawners are what you place on the nexus grid at the beginning of the game to start the match. You gain gold coins as time progresses, and the bottom line is it works like this. Gold you spend to place the regular cards translates to soul coins you spend to place the spawner cards, and the more spawner cards you place, the more you can upgrade your gold rate because you'll level up. Now, if you don't spend your gold coins, it gets converted automatically into soul coins, and that has no cap. That's great because there's no way for you to lose the rate progression. You only lose the opportunity to play the regular card. That sets you up for 3 ways to outplay your opponent. The first is having upgraded cards to allow you to have more unit spawns. The second is playing as much as possible to indirectly upgrade your gold rate. And that sets you up for the third one, to focus on how you actually play your deck. Rise of Legions initially appears as a bubblegum version of League of Legends, but there's currently only 1 lane. It's more of a macro game where you control what spawns instead of a single champion or unit, and the only thing that's purchased during a match are units instead of items or spells, which is part of your deck. The neat thing about the Rise of Legions is because it doesn't have a lot of depth content-wise, the barrier of entry for someone just starting the game is pretty low. You can get into a match relatively quickly with a decent performance on your part, and because of the matchmaking system, you're only matched with cards that are of the same rank as the highest in your deck. Now here's a quick tip: avoid upgrading or ascending your units in your deck until you can upgrade the entire deck. And ascending doesn't actually boost the units or cards' abilities. It only upgrades how many times you can spawn, and I think their respawn counter, which means lower ranked stone decks provide slower matches than a higher ranked deck like silver or gold. Even though Rise of Legions isn't very deep content wise, what it has to offer can't be experienced in a single setting. The pre-composed decks make the cards feel tuned in a way that allows a player to come back from a near loss. There are some issues with card synergies, like damage to frozen enemies doesn't appear to work as it should, targeted enemies aren't stunned as expected, and you might see inconsistent damage. But remember, the game is still in early access, and a recent update adjusted the tower splash damage, for example, and you're able to find opponents 2 weeks after release. With matches lasting anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, it doesn't go overboard with time commitment and offers bite-sized matches you can feel comfortable starting up before class or during a lunch break. With shorter matches, you're less likely to be in a losing situation for longer than absolutely necessary, and if worse becomes worse, you can always have the option to surrender. With no key mapping indicators in the toolbar, it's difficult to know what you have equipped to what key at a glance, but it feels like the devs might have an eye on a mobile version, and that would open up a larger player base to help with matchmaking. In a recent Reddit AMA, a team member said that because they're working with a custom game engine, they've been unable to port the game to mobile as fast as they would like, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. Now, even though the game is free to play, there is an element of pay to win. You can unlock upgrades with in-game currency or by completing tracked Legion challenges. The game is still in its infancy, and as a personal preference, I'd rather not go full-on pay to win. Yeah, like Clash Royale. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe they'll look towards methods similar to games like Warframe. Now here's a quick tip: if you unlock cards and you can't find them in your deck, or you change settings and you don't see the settings work like you specified, restart your game. Don't buy the cards again and hope they show up. It's not gonna happen, and you're gonna find that you have 2 versions of the same card. My name is MajorGrokey. This was my review on Rise of Legions that was recently released to Steam's Early Access. Now, if you're interested in checking out Rise of Legions gameplay or a link to the game itself, I'll have video links and a link to the Steam store in the video description. Subscribe if you haven't, hit that bell if you have. Let me know what you think of this video with a like and a comment. I'm always open for suggestions on how I can improve, and I'll see you guys next video.